All right, today we're going to talk about AWS's new AI assistant, Ace AI. So, is this just another chatbot, or is it something that could actually change the way we all build and manage stuff in the cloud? Let's dig in and find out. But first, let me ask a question to all the cloud developers listening. What would you do if you suddenly got back almost 2 full days of your work week? Seriously, think about it. What could you build with an extra 40% of your time?
Because, that 40% number, it's not just made up. That's the average time developers apparently lose just hunting through endless documentation and trying to fix those super cryptic error messages. It's a pain we've all felt for sure.
And that brings us right to the heart of it. Amazon has dropped Ace AI, and they're claiming it can give you that lost time back. So the big question is, can it really solve this huge productivity sinkhole? So before we even get into what Ace is, let's just quickly break down this 40% problem it's supposed to fix. It's not just about finding an answer, it's about finding the right answer for your specific setup, like right now. So, what exactly is Ace AI? And more importantly, how is it any different from the AI tools you're probably already using, like ChatGPT or maybe GitHub Copilot? Well, this is where things get really interesting. You see, the difference in how they work is huge. You can ask ChatGPT a question, sure, and it'll give you a pretty generic answer right out of a textbook. GitHub Copilot, it's awesome for spitting out a specific piece of code. But ACI AI, it's built to understand your live running AWS infrastructure. And that's the secret sauce right there. It's this idea of context awareness. AIC literally connects to your AWS account. What that means is, when you ask it about, say, a Lambda function or an S3 bucket, it's not just guessing the name or making stuff up. No, it's reading your actual configuration in real time.
So here's a quick look under the hood. It's really 3 systems working together. First, you've got a context engine that's basically scanning what you're looking at in the AWS console. Then, a retrieval system does a smart search through all of the AWS docs for what's relevant. And finally, a code generation layer puts it all together to build code that actually fits with what you've already got.
Okay, enough theory. Let's see how this thing actually works in the real world. How does Ace handle those common pull-your-hair-out problems that we all run into every single day? Let's start with an absolute classic. Your Lambda function is timing out. We've all been there. It's a pain to debug because the problem could be your code, your config, your permissions. Who knows? So you just ask Ace, hey, why is this specific function timing out? And instead of giving you a generic checklist, Ace gets specific. It goes and reads your CloudWatch logs, it checks the function's memory and timeout settings, it reviews the IAM permissions, and then it might come back with something like, hey, your function has 128 megs of memory, but it's trying to process a 50 meg file. Try increasing the memory to 512. Now that is an answer you can actually use.
All right, next up, the dreaded S3 access denied error. This one can be a real nightmare, like a complex puzzle with pieces scattered across a bunch of different services. So you just copy and paste that error message straight into Ace.
And this right here is where you really see what Ace can do. It doesn't just look at the S3 bucket policy in isolation. No, it also checks the IAM role of whatever's trying to access it, the bucket's encryption settings, even your VPC endpoint policies. It can find that one tiny conflicting rule between 2 totally different services that a person could easily spend hours or even days trying to hunt down.
Okay, let's talk about money. You open up AWS Cost Explorer and, whoa, your bill has jumped. It happens. So you can ask Ace a really direct question like, which service made my AWS bill go up this month?
And because Ace can actually read your billing data, it can point to the exact service, maybe even the specific resource that's causing the spike. But it doesn't stop there. You can ask a follow-up like, how can I fix this? And it'll give you smart suggestions, like recommending reserved instances or switching to Aurora serverless, all based on your actual usage data.
Now here's a super important pro tip. You gotta learn how to talk to it. Vague questions will get you vague answers. So instead of just asking, how do I save money? You need to ask something specific like, how can I lower the RDS cost for this database instance without hurting performance? See? Context is everything. All right, so troubleshooting is one thing, but what about building new stuff from scratch? Let's switch gears and look at one of Ace's most powerful features, generating complete, ready-to-deploy infrastructure as code. And wow, This comparison really tells the whole story. You ask these tools to build a fault-tolerant data pipeline. Copilot gives you some decent Lambda code, but it totally misses the IAM roles and the database schema. ChatGPT just gives you a high-level description of the architecture. But ACE spits out a complete CloudFormation template with everything: the Lambda, the DynamoDB table, an SQS dead letter queue, even the retry logic and CloudWatch alarms, the whole shebang. But, and this is a big but, here's another critical tip. Don't just copy, paste, and deploy. ACE is your assistant, not your replacement. You always have to review the code it generates. It gives you an amazing first draft that follows best practices, but it has no idea what your company's specific compliance rules are or your unique business logic. That human review is absolutely essential. So, we've talked about all the cool stuff ACE can do. But to give you a fair picture, we have to be real about what it can't do. At least, not yet. So let's look at the limitations, and then we'll get to a final verdict.
Yeah, it's really important to know where the guardrails are. For instance, ACE will not automatically make changes for you. It just generates the code for you to deploy. Its knowledge of third-party tools is pretty limited. It can't, log into your private database to figure out why a query is slow. And right now, it doesn't remember your conversations from one day to the next.
So when you boil it all down, what's the return on your investment here? Well, the thinking is that an active developer could save anywhere from 3 to 5 hours a week. And when you weigh that against the $19 a month cost for the Pro plan, well, the math is pretty compelling. So here's the final verdict. ACE AI is not coming to replace expert cloud engineers. It's just not. Think of it as a productivity multiplier. It automates all the tedious, annoying parts of the job: the documentation dives, the initial debugging, writing all that boilerplate code, and that frees up developers to focus on the hard stuff like architecture and building real business value. And that kind of leaves us with one last big, forward-looking question to chew on. For decades, the command line was the ultimate interface for power users. As these new AI tools get smarter and more aware of our specific contexts, are we starting to see AI become the new conversational command line for the entire cloud? It's definitely something to think about.